In this video, I want to go over a little bit of the patient portal, some of its uses and utilities, and where I think it can really speed things up. Before I get started, I just want to mention a little bit about the portal. It's something that I've been using quite heavily for, practically since we rolled it out. I find it personally to be a time saver in many respects. I know many of you guys out there are worried about the possibility that there's going to be this flood of emails. I would say that in general, I may get 2 or 3 emails a day at most. It's very rare that I ever get one that's inappropriate, and if it seems that it's something that is terribly complicated, I simply respond back to the patient that this needs to be dealt with an office visit, or I have my MA reach out and call the patient. But overall, I think it's been a great addition rather than a detractor in my care with patients. Also, I find that it really is nice on a patient satisfaction level. A couple other things. One to bring up is that if you have it set up to be able to see your patient portal as the notes come in, you may not want to respond to them right away, and really this is simply about setting up an expectation. Some patients, if they see that you respond to every email within 5 minutes of receiving it, it sort of sets the expectation that you're always watching your emails. Not always the greatest expectation to have. Now, you can certainly look at your email first and see whether it needs more urgent attention, but again, as these are not supposed to be urgent items, there really shouldn't be anything urgent coming through there. But again, my suggestion is let it sit in the inbox for a little bit. That way, again, you're not setting a potential unrealistic expectation. I also think that it's really important that if you want to use this, you really need to, one, train your front staff about how to get people signed up on it. And number two, you really need to push it with the patient in the exam room by telling them this is how I'd prefer to communicate with you. With that being said, go to the inbox here. Because I'm working with a test patient and I do have some real patients in my email box, I've shrunk things down to protect their information. These two, the from and subject, will generally be a lot bigger with more information. But basically, if you want to go ahead and simply send an email, you would open up the patient, as I have done back here. So I'm in a test patient inbox, and then you can simply go to compose. When you go to the to box, it will pull up the patient that you already have open, which is why it's nice to have them open in the first place. If not, or you wanted to add, say, your patient, or you wanted to copy your MA on this note for some reason, you could add the patient, and then you could always add your medical assistant through that. Give it a subject, and then you can just type away like you normally do. You can also make up some customized phrases. For example, I oftentimes will send labs out, and so I've made up this customized, really quick and simple, but it's 2 clicks as opposed to typing that every single time. I also often use this when patients are signed up for it. If patients are due for a visit, so let's say I get a request for a medication, and it looks like it's been a long time. I've got this one set up already here. Received a referral request for blank, so I fill in the medicine, basically letting them know they are due to come in, give them the phone number, and then send that on to them. I find that works a little bit faster than me actually trying to send a note to my MA or my front staff to call the patient to get them to come in. Also, as most of you probably know, but as a reminder, this little blue icon down here in the right lower quadrant is where you really need to be looking to see if the person is up on the portal. If there's no blue icon here, you can't send them anything. So anyway, you can set up some customized phrases, so if there are things that you just use over and over again, that's easy to do. Another place that I use this a lot, again, I send labs. So there's 3 ways that you can actually do an attachment to send. So just like NextGen, unfortunately, makes things a little more confusing than it need be. So let's say I'm sending this person a lab letter. All right, mention that there. Now you can either go here or here. Both of them will work. So add a document. Now I've already made a couple documents today, so if I want to send them their lab lab numbers and their custom lab letter that I've already generated. Boom, boom. Click on OK, and those are now attached. Again, you could also go this way and it'll allow you to click on it. Personally, I find this top one's a little bit cleaner. With using this approach, when the patient opens it, you will get a return email that says that the patient's looked at it. Some people find that to be helpful and reassuring. Certainly, if you've got some message that is of vital importance, it probably shouldn't be going out through email. Just like we don't want important messages coming in through email, we should not be sending them out through an email. So these are two ways that you can attach it. The other way that you can attach it, close those out, is if you're in the patient. Here you can go to their document. So let's say I'm going to send their custom lab letter, and if you right click, you get some options. Send to patient portal. You can again put a message, or like mine, I've got some customized phrases, and then go ahead and send it. And then it gives you a message, the letter was successfully exported to the patient portal. So that way you know that it went out. Now the patient will get an email in their email box that they set this up with, and then they can open it up and go from there. The downside again of this one is that you do not get a note back that they've opened it. I've been using this almost exclusively for emails, for lab letters, and have not had any patients call and complain that they didn't get anything. So I find it to be very successful. Some of the other things that I found with this that are useful, for example, let's say I saw a patient with some knee pain a few days ago. They're like, "Doc, I do want to go to PT," and they need a PT script. Well, I just do it under generic letter, as you can see, PT referral, and just the same way, you can right click on it, send to patient portal, and then your PT script is attached. And the patient can simply open this up, print it out, take it with them. I've done school notes for this. I've done, all sorts, anything that you want to make into a document, you can send them through the patient portal and they can then print out. Patients also have the option to send you refill requests. It will come in through the prescriptions part down here, which sort of makes sense. Depending on how you've got your page layout, sometimes you don't always see this, so you have to scroll and look for it. The other quirky thing with this is that the patient can hypothetically, well, not hypothetically, in reality, change the preferred pharmacy from what is in their computer, or what is in their chart, but it doesn't necessarily upgrade. So it's always a good idea to look at both of those. Personally, I found from an ease of use standpoint that I just like for the patient to directly email me as a communication what they need and where they want me to send it to. It just works, I find, a little easier for me, but you can play around with it some and see what works best for you. And that pretty much hits on the majority of items here. The other thing, from the standpoint of sake of ease of using the portal, it was a little more clunky the first 6 months that we were on the patient portal. It's gotten a lot easier for patients to enroll over the past 6 months. So if you got a little frustrated early on, I'd encourage you to try to repeat the process. I've actually enrolled myself, and really it's quite easy. The biggest area that we've got to make sure on is just making sure that your office enters the patient portal information correctly on the front end for their email address. And if you actually wanted to know how to do this on your own, you can even do it yourself. If you go to patient portal, enrollment, manage enrollment, when you open this up, it will show you, first of all, here's their email address. And in this test patient, I actually have the emails that come to me, so that way I know that it's working. At the top line here, it will actually tell you that they've activated it. Token, whatnot is in here. If you wanted to go ahead and do this yourself, you could always reset the password. You click that, it'll give you a new number, print, and this will then print out the page that you give to the patient so they can go home and log in. Also from this page, one last important thing is you can see down here on the left, unenroll. If you do get a patient that just seems to really be abusing the system, it is okay to unenroll them. I think it's probably a good idea to pass on to the patient that this just doesn't seem to be working, and be as diplomatic as possible, and then go ahead and unenroll them. They still have the opportunity to call the office. It doesn't completely cut them off, but again, I haven't ever had to use this. I just know that it's available. Thanks.